With me now on this Business Life 360 episode is someone who has a never-stop attitude and an acute focus on initiatives and challenges affecting our water, air, and land. I welcome the longest-serving woman in the history of the United States House of Representatives, U.S. Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, joining us from Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Kaptur, welcome to Business Life 360. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be in your presence. Thanks for being here. So let's dive in and talk about the Great Lakes region. For decades, the 8 states surrounding the 5 Great Lakes have accumulated, shall we say, environmental changes, Congresswoman Kaptur. And frankly, the state of our water, our land, and our air is maybe not so healthy. So rather than enduring a steady decline, you have introduced and championed a comprehensive solution that can truly help change that. So if you would, can you encapsulate for us the Great Lakes Authority and give us a little more detail on its mission?
We are in the freshwater kingdom of the world, really. And but what's happened over the years, because of increasing population, because of industrial pollution, because of agricultural runoff, what's happened to Lake Erie in particular, because it's the shallowest of all the Great Lakes, is that we have more algal blooms that are making themselves felt year after year after year. The waters are warming, which induces more growth. And the existing programs like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which we've been able to plus up a little bit in the budget, simply isn't enough to deal with the accumulated environmental debt that cities like Toledo, Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, every single one of them have for environmental mandates with no money. Mm-hmm. And so we have formed something in the form of legislation right now that we hope to make the law to place an umbrella over our region, not a real umbrella, but a development umbrella that would permit us to relieve some of the debt of our communities that have the responsibility for producing clean water for their citizenry, as well as offering a mechanism to deal with region-wide improvements, both environmental as well as economic.
Have we abandoned our environment in the past and really now we're kind of doing the catching up? And are we too late?
Kristi, that's a really good question. And the answer is, in the past 100 years, maybe people didn't realize what they were doing. They had a kind of heady human attitude that no matter what they did, nature would forgive them. Well, it doesn't. So whether you have polluted sites in Lucky, Ohio that leach into the fresh waters or into the streams that are even underground in our region, or you have rivers like the Black River that flows into Lake Erie through Lorain County. That was a major Superfund site. It was a major area of concern. And it has taken over a decade. We've been at this now for many years. I think people were careless or they didn't know. People thought that if they breathed in diesel fumes, they wouldn't get cancer. Wrong.
So do you see this then, Congresswoman Kaptur, something that will help our nation's water supply, or do you think that it's really in jeopardy at this point in time?
It definitely will help. And it will help us install new technology. And I think depending on the manner in which we do it, we also will create revenue streams to help the future. In other words, it won't be a sinkhole. It will actually be a public-private sector partnership that will help us retool our region.
Later in the show, we have the head of global sustainability from General Motors who's coming on. And I wanted to ask you, Congresswoman Kaptur, if in fact you've seen corporations and businesses in the Great Lakes region rising to the occasion in terms of fostering, innovating for cleaner power, reducing carbon emissions, electric vehicles. What has your experience been?
We are at the dawn of a new energy age. And we see it in General Motors. We see it in Stellantis Fiat. We see it in Ford Motor. We see them investing not millions, billions of dollars, that's with a B, in new technology. We are now working with Energy Harbor to build a hydrogen hub. We just hope we can be successful and draw down national funds in order to make it larger as we move into new fuels like hydrogen that were not heavily used in the past. We are working very, very hard on ethanol and biodiesel. We had our first truck come through, a Class 8 truck that is 100% powered by ethanol, which is a big news to all of our farmers in the region. We are looking at biodiesel, crops that we can reproduce that do not pollute the land or pollute the water, but move America into a renewable energy age. In the automotive and trucking industry, they're looking at various technologies right now because they don't know which one will be the best for them. We think hydrogen fuel cells will first be used on the big trucks before they're reduced to the smaller vehicles and so forth. And of course, with the electric charging stations and the new electric vehicles that are being manufactured by all of the automotive companies now, they are moving into a new era. But I'll tell you something, if you go to the Toledo History Museum, you will see through some of the work that they've done and the displays they've had, one of the first electric cars, battery-powered cars, was produced in Toledo, Ohio by Milburn Wagon Works before the First World War, over 100 years ago. So people were already thinking back then, if I could have a race in all the regions of the United States by our young mechanics and our young machinists to have them build a race car powered by new fuels, right? I would do it in a heartbeat. I've been talking about that in Washington and urging the next generation to help us build the cars that will be the cars of the future. Don't be wed to the 21st century. Move into the 21st century with robust energy. And I hope that this will happen around the country.
Congresswoman Kaptur, when you're with us on Business Life 360, you get to participate in Quick Hits to help our viewers and listeners get to know you better. We're coming back to you at the end of the show to hear more from you on Quick Hits. Now, when you're on Business Life 360, we do Quick Hits, and that is where we get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready for this?
Oh boy, I hope so.
Okay, Congresswoman Kaptur, here we go. Quick Hits. One item on your bucket list.
To have time to do another painting.
Great.
I like to do watercolors.
I was just going to ask you, if you have downtime, what do you like to do? That might be it. Is it painting?
That's one of them, yes.
One word to describe you in high school.
Bookish.
Your biggest pet peeve.
Drivers who are unsafe.
Your go-to song on karaoke night.
I like John Denver songs. I go way back. Loving the sunshine, loving the mountains, loving nature, anything like that.
Love that. What is the last sporting event you attended?
Probably women's basketball.
Your choice career if you weren't a U.S. Congresswoman.
I'm a city and regional planner by training, and I love my work, but I'll tell you, it has perfectly trained me for the job I have now, particularly at this point in history.
Well, Congresswoman Kaptur, it is always amazing and wonderful to have you on our show. Thanks so much for being on Business Life 360, and we welcome you back anytime.
Thank you, Kristi. Thank you very much.